Welcome to Build Your Difference, a podcast designed to help visionary people like you build distinguished brands that inspire and engage a growing audience. Hello, I'm Jim Dennison. We're glad to have you with us for our February edition of the new Build Your Difference podcast. We look forward to sharing inspiring and compelling stories of Blue Artist clients with you.
And I'm Desiree Moody. We'll also offer educational resources to help you build a better business and brand. Each podcast includes 3 segments: client news, a feature story, and a segment with one of our producers. Let's roll right into this month's client news segment with an update on author and self-described comic book geek, William Jones. Many of you will remember his interview during our December podcast. Tell us, Jim, what has William Jones been up to lately?
Well, Desiree, Mr. Jones started the new year with a bang. In January, he shared his knowledge of Black comic book heroes and illustration techniques at 3 events in the Washington metropolitan area. Just after the first of the year, Mr. Jones held a workshop at the Quince Orchard Library in Gaithersburg, Maryland, for youth ages 10 to 17 years old. Mr. Jones designed the hands-on workshop to teach interested young artists the basics of comic book illustration. This workshop was a lead-up event to Montgomery County Public Library's inaugural comic book convention, MoComCon, the venue for Jones's second workshop. MoComCon was held on January 21st at the Silver Spring Library in Silver Spring, Maryland. Mr. Jones worked with a captive audience during his workshop titled Learn the Basics of Comic Book Illustration. The well-attended event also included a variety of panels, additional workshops, programs, displays, exhibitors, and a cosplay contest. I would like to thank Montgomery County Libraries for their continued support, Mr. Jones said in a press release announcing the events. I always look forward to working with youth and the next generation of artists. Between the 2 art workshops, Mr. Jones discussed and signed copies of his latest book at Sankofa Video Books and Cafe in Washington, D.C. on January 14th. In the ex-con, Voodoo Priest, Goddess, and the African King, a social, cultural, and political analysis of 4 Black comic book heroes, Mr. Jones delves into the pasts of 4 Black comic book characters to break down their origins and analyze their representation throughout comic book history. In turn, his analysis gives the reader a feel for the future of diversity and representation in the comic book medium. His presentation also included a discussion of the portrayal of Black people in science fiction, fantasy, and supernatural films. I was very excited to make my first appearance at Sankofa Video Books and Cafe. Sankofa has long been an educational and cultural landmark in Washington, and I'm honored they hosted such an event for me, Mr. Jones said. Mr. Jones frequently speaks on the subjects of the history of Black people in America and the image of Black people in various forms of media, pop culture, and hip-hop music on college campuses and at conferences both nationally and abroad. He's also the founder of Afrofuturism Network, which seeks to support the ever-growing community of Black writers, artists, and thinkers in the realms of sci-fi, fantasy, comic books, and film, and analyzes the contributions and portrayal of Black characters in these mediums. Additionally, AFM examines the role and place of Black people in the past, present, and future, and serves as a hub for Black creativity and thought. Learn more about William Jones and Afrofuturism Network at www.afrofuturismnet.com.
Thank you, Jim. It's great to hear that William Jones is continuing to make a positive impact in his community. I'm excited to announce that another one of our clients is also impacting his community and was recently selected as Pastor of the Week by the Indiana Wesleyan University alumni. Reverend Charles Maurer, lead pastor at Divine Direction Christian Church in Indianapolis, Indiana, was featured in an IWU alumni blog article titled, "Ensuring that the Message of Grace is Delivered." Elder Reverend Charles T. Maurer, Jr., Pastor of the Week. The article conveys Reverend Maurer's devotion to his ministry and church and the connection between his faith and his roles as a business owner, author, musician, and educator. Reverend Maurer has ministered at Divine Direction Christian Church for more than 13 years and is heavily involved in serving not only his congregation, but also the surrounding community, the article said. His ministry provides food for families in need, supports a transportation and meal program called Feed My Sheep Ministry, and hosts a community Thanksgiving dinner. Over 200 families have been served this year. "We are now marching together," Reverend Maurer was quoted as saying in the article. His desire to serve extends to his role as a small business entrepreneur offering property and casualty services, claims advocacy, and management consulting. Blog author Rick Carter writes that Reverend Maurer's bivocational role is an example of someone who loves to serve and intentionally finds resources to meet the needs of people. Reverend Maurer also shares his faith through the written word in his recent book and song lyrics as the lead singer of his band, The Faithful Few. In his book, Giving Up Is Not an Option, Reverend Maurer shares his family's inspirational story of how, even on the verge of losing everything, they kept their faith and pushed through the difficult circumstances in their lives. In the article, Carter calls the book a must-read and a powerful example of a modern-day story of Job. While education is found throughout Reverend Maurer's mission, professionally, he has taught at IWU since 2009. Both music scholars, his daughter recently graduated from IWU and his son is a current student. Ensuring that the message of grace is delivered, Elder Reverend Charles T. Maurer Jr., Pastor of the Week, is available on the Indiana Wesleyan University alumni website at www.iwualumniblog.com. To learn more about Reverend Maurer, his books, and music, visit charlesmaurerpraise.com.
Thank you, Desiree. What a fantastic honor that is for Reverend Maurer. We love to hear about our clients' accomplishments and honors. In this month's feature segment, we're going to discuss a topic that makes many creatives and entrepreneurs cringe: self-promotion. We don't want to sound braggadocious, we suffer from imposter syndrome, we worry about offending people, or we simply don't know the ins and outs of effective marketing. We wait for others to toot our horns, but in doing so, we often miss out on opportunities to reach more people and increase our impact. Sound familiar? To discuss further, let's welcome Blue artist producer Pierre Walters to the show. Hi Pierre, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Jim. It's always a pleasure to join the Build Your Difference podcast. So, how do we, as creatives and entrepreneurs, make noise about our brands without being salesy or pushy? I found an article by Shopify content crafter Praveen Kumar that covers this in a nutshell. Let's check out Praveen's recommendations in his article titled Personal Branding: How to Market Yourself Without Selling Out. Companies have brands, and products have brands. But for whatever reason, many of us aren't comfortable with developing our personal brand. Maybe it feels forced, or you don't want to put yourself out there, or maybe you feel like you're just selling out. But personal branding isn't as intense as it sounds. All it means is this: as an entrepreneur, a maker, a creator, whatever it is you are, your business, your craft, your art, whatever it is you build, is an extension of yourself and a part of your life story. Personal branding weaves together your life and your work in the form of sharing your life's work. There's a reason some of the most well-known, well-defined brands are often closely tied to the reputation of the person behind them. Bill Gates and Microsoft, Richard Branson and Virgin, Steve Jobs and Apple. These entrepreneurs have distinct personal brands that are inseparable from the companies that they've built. Tesla especially, which once claimed to have a $0 marketing budget, is arguably just an extension of Elon Musk's own brand as a visionary. Or look at Martha Stewart, who built an entire empire upon her name. These entrepreneurs take whatever makes them special and they project it in a consistent, authentic, and impactful way. At its core, effective personal branding entails building up your street cred to improve your PR and business development efforts, tapping into your network to get early traction for your ideas or make your first sales, being authentic to build a sustainable presence. After all, it does get tiring pretending to be someone else. Giving your business a face and a real name to earn more trust from consumers. Creating a lasting platform that you can use to share your past, present, and future endeavors. Here are some ideas for strengthening your own personal brand. Put yourself out there. Being active online is an advantage. A brand is the set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that, taken together, account for a consumer's decision to choose one product over another. Seth Godin. The strength of your brand isn't necessarily the number of followers you have, but the sum of all your activities online. It's undeniably a noisy world, but meaningful actions can generally cut through most of the clutter. These are the comments you leave on articles, your interactions on Twitter, the publications that feature your thoughts, the case studies about your business. Business owners who are active online actually have an advantage in that the distribution of participation online is severely skewed. Most people passively experience the internet. In fact, it's estimated that 90% of internet users are lurkers who rarely contribute their voices in comments, content, reviews, etc. You don't need to win awards or be a multimillionaire to build a personal brand. If you are active online, if you share your thoughts and maintain consistency, you're already ahead of most in building yours. Get your story straight. Everyone is necessarily the hero of his own life story. John Barth. There's a lot about your brand that falls out of your hands, but your story is one thing that you get to craft, that you get to control. That's why it's an important asset in any press kit. Effective storytelling is about representing change. It's about showing, not telling, your audience how you got from point A to point B. Like any origin story, yours will shed light on your motivation, your roots, and your goals. You just need to find the parts that are worth telling, and that starts with examining your life to unearth what you're really about. Behind Death Wish Coffee, for example, there's the memorable story of Mike Brown, the owner of a small New York coffee shop, who took it upon himself to create the world's strongest coffee because his more adventurous clientele kept asking for it. Don't be afraid to start from the bottom and tell the world how you got to where you are. The bigger the gap you create between point A and B, the more potential your story has in differentiating you. After all, who doesn't love a good underdog story? Do things. Tell people. The woods would be very silent if no birds sang there except those that sang best. Henry Van Dyke. Starting something and seeing it to fruition can be a lonely endeavor when much of the work you do is done behind closed doors. Do things, tell people, isn't just one of Shopify's core values, but a good reminder that amidst all the noise, no one is going to notice the awesome things that you're doing, the things that you care about, unless you share them. Own the things you do. If you don't, who will? For many entrepreneurs, their first customers are friends and family. The people who care about and support what you do can be counted on to help you get the initial traction you need to get an idea off the ground. So, if a milestone or a victory is important or significant to you, tell people. Whether it's launching your business, reaching a certain number of sales, or sharing an article you were featured in, or something nice that a customer said. Share parts of your journey as they happen. And those with any interest in your unfolding story will follow along too. Spread your story through content. Content marketing doesn't come as easily for every brand, but it is an incredibly versatile strategy for building personal brands as you produce content with your name on it and curate content to share. What you choose to share reflects you and your interests while also helping you to maintain an active, authentic presence online. Tell stories, teach what you've learned, or share your struggles to give people something interesting, educational, or human. This type of content does especially well on Medium, the blog website. Now, it doesn't always need to involve writing. You can start a vlog on YouTube, reach out to be on podcasts like the Build Your Difference podcast, or you can guest post on other blogs, or offer a behind-the-scenes look through Snapchat at what you're up to. The same rules apply as with content marketing in general. Put out content that your audience cares about, capture their interest, and earn more attention over time. Being yourself versus managing your image. You too are a brand, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not. Mark Echo. We can easily become self-conscious about what we share of ourselves, where we share it, and with whom we share it with. There's a reason many of us post different things on LinkedIn than we do on Facebook. There's a reason many people wear a different face to work than they do in other parts of their life. A study by Deloitte even reported that 61% of participants admitted to leaving a big chunk of who they are at the door before they walk into work, a clear indication of how protective we can be of our personal brands. Impression management is what you do to control and filter how others perceive your brand. It's easy and understandable to default to privacy when it comes to your online presence, but this isn't managing the impression you make. That is masking it. Instead, I encourage you to select some of your social profiles to make public and discoverable and share your journey in authentic ways to whatever extent you're comfortable with. Many social networks even let you choose what parts of your profile you share publicly. For example, on Facebook, it lets you amass followers that have a more limited view of your activity than your friends. Snapchat also lets you post some snaps publicly while sharing others privately with individual contacts. Others, like LinkedIn, are meant to be public and professional and should be optimized as the destination for anyone looking to learn more about your career, get in touch, or do business with you. Consider how you want to set up your social accounts or create a platform for sharing who you are. Join communities and have a presence in the right crowds. The actions you take online, from leaving comments to liking posts to tweeting pictures, they leave a digital footprint. And leaving your footprints in the right places can effectively help you network with others, garner interest in your business, and attract clicks to your site. As part of your efforts to seek out or create communities where your target audience lives, for example, Karen Kowalak, the owner of Lake Providence Lodge Scented Wax Melts, has built an engaged community around her homemade wax melt after spending some time in a similar group getting to know people who share her passion. It doesn't even have to be online. Platforms like Meetup, among others, help you find the right offline communities to participate in around your city. Be mindful that your actions should ultimately aim to contribute value to these communities. People will recognize and even revile baseless self-promotion. So before you post anything, ask yourself if you're undermining the integrity of the community or its rules. Focus on using your voice to do the things that add value, teaching, entertaining, engaging, and inspiring. Your reputation will grow from there. Optimize your social profiles for your personal brand. Your profile or bio, where you communicate who you are, what you've done, and how you conduct yourself. It's also where you plant links to direct others' interest in you towards your online store, your blog, your book, your landing page, your website, whatever. The power of a good bio shouldn't be underestimated. It's where your digital footprint has the chance of turning curious clicks on your profile into further exposure to your brand, outreach opportunities, or even sales. Now, take a look at Richard Branson's bio and how it not only captures his personality and interests, but features his company's Twitter handle and a link to his blog. To do that, go to Richard Branson's Twitter page. Now, while your bio will be different for different profiles, generally you'll have your name, as people would search for it, the companies or other social accounts associated with your brand, a nice headshot for your profile picture, relevant keywords that are associated with what you do, a tone that shows your personality, a strategic link or call to action of your choice. The world is your stage. Something amazing takes place when you decide to wear your passion out in public and come out as an entrepreneur or an artist or a maker or whatever makes your life worth living. Your personal brand develops in a natural way as your best self gets brought out as a consequence of owning who you are and the things you do. We've all got a voice and a story and the opportunity to build a platform. Just remember, all the world's a stage. Will you sit in the audience, or will you step out from behind the curtains and be heard?
Thanks for sharing that inspiring piece, Pierre. I like the idea of sharing certain parts of your story as they happen. That's an important piece of the social media pie, you might say, that keeps your followers engaged.
It sure is, Jim. Now, let's stay on the topic of social media for this month's producer segment. Faithful listener Holly sent us an email with a question about her online presence. She says, "It seems like there's a brand new social media site popping up every day. But how much time do I really need to spend on social media to effectively build my brand?" Well, Holly, that is a good question, and I think it has everything to do with the target audience that you're trying to meet. Who is it that you're speaking to? And when you say time on social media, let's not just look at that as you're sitting down and just looking at your social media account. Let's sort of divide that up into activities, and those activities relevant to your different accounts. So, for example, let's say you have a Twitter account, and I do recommend that every brand, every business owner should have a Twitter account. Why? Primarily because using Twitter is an effective tool to help curate other people's content and broadcast it to your community. Think of Twitter like a radio station or a TV channel where you're just broadcasting content. It doesn't have to be your own content. It could be other people's content, but it's curated and it's coming live from your Twitter account in a steady stream. This is a wonderful way for people to begin to look at you and your brand as a resource. Maybe you might not have the direct answer to a question that they have, but the content that you're pushing out might help point them in the right direction. Now, on Twitter, what are you doing? Well, you're on your day-to-day, throughout your day-to-day life, you're looking on the internet, you're getting news from different websites, and when you see something that looks like it makes sense for your Twitter followers, you just tweet it out. Let them know about it. Send it out through Twitter. At Blue Artist, we've got a fantastic content marketing service. It's totally free for every member. And what we do is we search the internet for news and content, other people's content that fits into categories. And you choose which categories you think your followers would be interested in. And as content pops up in those categories, we distribute it through to your followers. Now, you don't have to do anything except just decide what categories you think your audience would be interested in, and we'll take care of the rest. I mean, it's really a fantastic way to curate content that fits the interest level of your brand, of your audience, and really push that out there so that they can see you as a resource. So when it comes to Twitter, you're curating other people's content and you're also pushing out your own content. So this is where if you have a blog, maybe you write a blog once a week, you're pushing that out through Twitter. Now, on Facebook is really about engaging directly with your community. So, for example, Facebook is the place you want to go to really put the spotlight on your different community members, people that are engaging with you, and people, Facebook has a great tool where it'll tell you when someone's birthday is. So wouldn't it be great if an audience or community member of your brand has a birthday and your brand or your business or you directly wishes them a happy birthday and probably sends them a 10% discount code for a product or something like that? I mean, you can really use Facebook to engage directly with your community members. They say show and not tell, but they also say, and this is from the book Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk, you want to give before you ask. So you want to give away at least 3 times as much content before you ask for something in return, like a sale. So it's, Facebook's a wonderful place to just give away value. Maybe you have a tip of the day. Maybe you want to highlight a particular member's achievement. Maybe someone in your community has done something really worthwhile and you want to make the whole community aware of it. This is how you're engaging on Facebook. And you don't need to do this every single day. I would say clock in once a week. We have a fantastic social media representative service that allows us to take management over one of your social media accounts and really just fine tune it, really just engage with your audience, moderate conversations, provide guidance for people who have questions about your brand, and post regular weekly content. This is really just a fantastic service because it takes the pressure off of you. Now, what I would say is this: whether you want to do it yourself or you want to offload representation of your social media accounts to someone else, maybe our team, you want to start with a social media action plan. This is critical. Now, why is it critical? Because without a plan, you really cannot expect results. So a social media action plan is an excellent tool where we can help you to determine, okay, who is the audience that we're trying to reach? What kind of interest do they have in your brand? And how can we develop content that really suits their interest? The social media action plan goes one step further beyond just developing a solid communication strategy. It also goes a step further to developing a content calendar. So this is literally a 31-day sample calendar that shows you every single day of the week and what type of content, what type of posts you might want to be pushing on each day. So that way you know if Mondays are your tip of the week days and Thursdays are your comment on a user's picture days or something like that, then you have that already on your calendar. You don't have to think about it. You just pop up that calendar and you can go ahead and implement the strategy for the day. So the bottom line is this: you really can spend as much time on social media as you want, but if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a strategy, then that time ultimately may not yield you the results that you're looking for. So what I recommend is this: it's not about how much time you spend on social media in order to be effective in building your brand. It's how that time is spent. And that's where I'm going to highly, highly recommend our social media action plan service. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the social media action plan service, you can contact us directly. You can go to our website, www.blue-artists.com, click on services, then click on PR and social, and you'll see it right there. Or you can send us an email at producers@blue-artists.com. We'll be happy to help you. A social media action plan is definitely what I'm recommending in this case. Thanks for writing, Holly. It was absolutely wonderful to receive your question. I hope my answer provided some value for you.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. But you've given me so many things to think about when it comes to my own social media presence. Thank you for sharing your expertise, Pierre. I'm sure it will be extremely helpful to Holly and the rest of our audience, too. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. If you have a question for one of our producers or a suggestion for a podcast theme, we welcome you to submit them to us via email at producers@blue-artists.com. With that, we'll wrap up the February edition of Build Your Difference. Remember that each podcast is available 24/7 on our website at www.community.blue-artists.com. Our clients are notified when new podcasts are available, but anyone is welcome to listen as we help build your difference. Please join us next month as we continue to offer inspiration and expertise to build distinguished brands that inspire and engage your growing audience.
You are building an incredible brand. We're grateful to be your creative agency. Until next time, keep growing, keep striving, and keep building your difference.